Hello and welcome to this special edition of Look East, live from Ipswich.
Although this provides us with some comfort, these convictions will not bring Tavis back, nor will they bring to an end the heartache we will always feel without him in our lives.
Who were these people to judge Tavis? What right did they have to take his life? We will forever live with our broken hearts, but to know these defendants are off our streets and the family and Tavis of justice is welcoming.
In tonight's special programme, the last of the 6 gang members is found guilty of murder. For the first time, we can reveal the video culture which lay behind the aggression between rival gangs in Ipswich. We're out on patrol with the local police as they try to steer young people away from a life of drug-filled crime.
It ended with me on crack cocaine, drinking morphine out of a bottle, wanting to die.
And how did a football-loving schoolboy end up on the wrong side of the street? Well, tonight's programme, we're outside the Crown Court and we are equidistant, actually, between where 2 gangs inhabit. Over in that direction, IP3, you'll hear a lot about them, IP3 Nino, and in that direction it's J Block, based around Jubilee Park, which isn't really a park at all, it's a kind of playground with a couple of swings on it. Let's just have a look at who the main people are in this evening's programme. This is the victim, Tavis Spencer-Aitkens, savagely attacked near his home in June last year. 6 members of a local gang went on trial for his murder. 4 have been convicted of murder. They're Aristot Yeng, Adebayo Amusa, Isaac Calver, and Kyrese Davis. Callum Platts was cleared of murder but found guilty of manslaughter. A 6th defendant, Leon Glasgow, was found not guilty on all counts. Well, of course, we had some verdicts in yesterday and we've got some more another verdict today. The final verdict was announced this morning. We were expecting it this afternoon, but it came before lunch today. So let's look now at the story of the trial with Kevin Birch.
2 gangs, 1 teenager, caught in the middle. So brutal, so close to home, just yards from his father Neville's house. He's been in court most days, Tavis's mother Sharon ever present too, both supported by the wider family and friends. And this morning they came to see the jury decide the fate of the final defendant, Isaac Calver. And by a majority, he was convicted of murder. Well, when the guilty verdict came, Calver, who was standing in the dock, now of course the only one of the 6 still in the dock, he slumped from a standing position down into his seat, head in hands, crying, shaking his head in apparent disbelief about what had just happened. From the public gallery, there was a muted cry of yes, and from Tavis's mother, the words, "Son, you'll get your justice." The attack on Tavis on a balmy summer's afternoon was over in seconds. Frenzied, said the police. Chased down, pinned down. The rivalry between his gang, called IP3 or Nino, based on the Nacton estate, and J-Block from Jubilee Park across town, erupting into violence. J-Block looking for revenge after an earlier standoff. The attackers in a van headed to Packard Avenue, where the teenager was spotted and, said the Crown, butchered.
My darling son Tavis was taken from us unnecessarily, needlessly and cruelly on Saturday, the 2nd of June.
4 days after the killing, his mother, in a statement read on her behalf, spoke of the heartache over Tavis, pictured on the right in this photo on the table with twin brother Tyler. And 4 weeks on, the funeral at the local church where Tavis had been baptised. His neighbourhood, his father, at a loss to understand.
I really shouldn't be here today. It should be my son saying goodbye to me. And I'm here saying goodbye to my son.
Heartbreaking then, still today. This long trial forcing the family to relive every awful detail of the attack, those final, fateful moments.
My son died alone. I never had the chance to say goodbye. I never had the opportunity to tell him how much I love him, and I never had the chance to hold his hand and comfort him as he slipped away.
Our lives have been changed forever. The pain has been unbearable. Who were these people to judge Tavis? What right did they have to take his life?
Knives have no place on our streets. We must educate both children and young adults who think that carrying one will make them safer. I do not want to watch another family suffer in the same way that Tavis's family have had to through this entire process.
This trial lasted much longer than anyone expected, the judge today thanking the jury for demonstrating your dedication and committed patience. He's expected to carry out sentencing at the end of April. Kevin Birch, BBC Look East at Ipswich Crown Court.
And Kevin is here. I was struck, tears today. Very different reaction yesterday from some of the people.
Yes, in fact, some of it has been very muted, very little reaction. Yesterday, for instance, 2 people chose not to turn up on the day they were convicted. Today, from Calver, a real show of emotion. I'm not a mind reader, Stuart, but it seemed to me that perhaps finally he realised the full consequences of what he'd done. But yeah, absolute tears. I think he just realised this was it, no going back. This is what it all means.
And you spoke to Tavis's father.
That's right, Neville, yes, who's been in court so much of the time. He's been very courteous talking to us, and today as we came out of court, he said to me, yes, you know, the verdicts are all in, but of course for us, for the family, this goes on for the rest of our lives.
Kevin, thank you very much. So let's have a look now at Tavis Spencer-Aitkens himself. Who was he? What was he like growing up? Mike Liggins has been to meet 2 people who knew him very well.
Murray Park in Ipswich, close to where Tavis Spencer-Aitkens lived and died. Tavis used to come here to play football. His name is now on one of the trees.
Just the way he played, he almost a lazy kind of player until the ball came to him, and then he just suddenly came alive.
Terry Charles knew Tavis when he played for Copplestonians Youth. In one season, 12-year-old Tavis scored a record-breaking 43 goals.
Yeah, he was a talented footballer. Had a great first touch, got the ball out of his feet and went for goal. 43 goals in a season, you know. The record still stands, you know, for Tavis, you know, and I think it will for a long, long time.
When his parents split up, Tavis went to live with his father. Ozzie Thompson, a cousin of Tavis, remembers alarm bells ringing when he saw the young lad, now 13 or 14, out at night.
I just said, Tavis, why are you out on the street so late, my friend? I said, come on, get home, all right? Get home to your dad, all right? If you're out on the streets, you're only going to get yourself in trouble, mate.
Tavis was tall, well over 6 foot, size 14 shoes. His nickname was Biggs. He went here to Ipswich Academy, but was expelled. Terry Charles next saw Tavis, now 15, at a pupil referral unit. How did Tavis become associated with a gang? Terry doesn't know, but he does know others would have wanted Tavis on their side.
Tavis was a popular young man, so having someone like Tavis in their team, you know, I'm not a fan of the word gang, but having him on their side, I suppose, was good for them.
You had everything to live for, but drugs, that big D, is the most terrible thing going in society now.
Tavis wanted to be a mechanic. He wanted to visit Jamaica for his 18th birthday, a birthday he would never see.
You know, one of the interesting things about this whole case is the way that insults have been traded online between the 2 rival gangs, and particularly in music videos. This from Dawn Gerber.
A feud between 2 gangs played out on social media. Professionally made films shot against the backdrop of suburban Ipswich. And this is Tavis, as part of the Nino gang from the IP3 code, hence the 3 fingers. Across town, the rival gang, J-Block from the Jubilee Park area. The same polished filming techniques, the same boasts, with deadly consequences.
Music does play a part in some of the challenges that we're seeing in the community. We have seen videos where young people are taunting each other, and there is retaliation either through other music videos or physically when young people come together and they either fight or they're exchanging words.
They call this trap music. A trap Block being a place where drug deals take place. And the videos shot here have clearly struck a chord. One called Poverty talks of the conditions in their local area. It's attracted more than 140,000 views. Community workers we've spoken to say the lyrics for songs like Poverty are known by children in primary schools across Ipswich. So there was already a sense of celebrity status about J Block, prompting fears that the lifestyle of these gangs is being glamorised. They rapped about drugs, women and money and traded insults on film. Look closely at these gestures. The gun symbol with one hand pointing directly at the three fingers of IP3.
With the music that's out today as well, that are basically teaching them that what they're singing about, how they're acting, that they're promoting that that's the correct way of life.
Some say these videos should be removed from the internet altogether. Others say the music is simply reflecting the lives that young people live. Either way, what started out as gestures on film ended up as a death on the streets of Ipswich. Dawn Gerber, BBC Look East, Ipswich.
We're going to talk to Rico Smith. We saw him in the video. Rico, you've lived in Ipswich all your life. You've grown up around all of this. How difficult is it to avoid getting into a gang?
Very difficult. You have a lot of people targeting young lads that are very vulnerable and they know what they're looking for.
So how does it work? If somebody approaches a young child, how does it work?
9 times out of 10 they'll offer money, offer to buy them things, basically live the life of luxury, basically. Stuff where they can't normally earn that amount of money that quickly. So that's an easy way of life for them in their eyes at that particular moment.
And they're trying to get people to run drugs for them, are they?
Correct.
And how difficult, once you've started, is it to get out?
Very, because some of them turn into drug users themselves, then they become addicted to the drugs themselves. Plus, once they're in there, because they know how their organisation works, they then don't want to let them go because they're afraid they're going to leak their information and they'll get caught themselves.
And the gang thing, I mean, how wary is it for somebody of your age going around in Ipswich in case you're in the wrong place at the wrong time?
I mean, I'm a family guy, I have a family, and I'm scared for my family walking around. My partner doesn't like going out without me. I don't even like going to the shop at night by myself, and I live around town area. You know, it's just so sketchy nowadays. You don't know who's doing what, especially when innocent people are getting attacked for no reason, even if you ain't a gang member or a drug dealer.
And are these people that you will have grown up with, are they people who are born and bred in Ipswich or not?
Majority of them. I do know other people from various places that have got into this sort of thing as well, which is very heartbreaking, really, watching people that you once knew as a friend go down that route.
And this is Ipswich?
Yeah, it used to be such a nice town, nice, relaxed, a lot of respect flowing around. There's none of that now, it's all gone.
Rico, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Very grateful to you. So we've heard a lot about gangs, and we've heard some criticism over the months of the police, and we'll be talking to the Police and Crime Commissioner a little later in the programme. But the police are working hard. They've got a youth gang prevention unit, and Debbie Tubby has spent some time with them to find out exactly what it is that they're doing.
Police constables John Stordy and Gavin Bevan drive an unmarked car and don't wear uniform. They've just started their late shift patrolling the streets of Ipswich, and they know from experience gang life isn't what it's cracked up to be.
You need to be on YouTube, you need to be making the music there, look at the wads of cash, look at the money, look at the women, look at the jewellery. They might offer you 20, 30 quid to do X, Y and Z, but it doesn't really get much bigger than 20, 30 quid.
During this 8-hour shift, they'll arrest a member of the J Block gang. They'll check a former gang member they helped escape.
When I actually did try and leave, I realised how big of a problem I'd got myself into, where I just didn't want to be alive.
And they'll explain how they confronted Tavis Spencer-Aitkens.
I had a lengthy chat with him before he got killed, and I said to him, "You've got to step out of this, mate."
It's late evening. We're near Jubilee Park, where the J Block gang name comes from. The police unit was set up because of an increase in violence here.
The J Block group have used this area for quite some time as sort of their stronghold.
Since the Tavis trial, have things quietened down?
I think things have calmed down, and there's many factors involved in that. And I just hope it continues, if I'm being honest.
How's it going?
It's now 8 o'clock. They're on a regular visit to the YMCA.
Doing workshops.
Tash Whiteman says since the police unit has been set up, the gangs have backed off from grooming the vulnerable teenagers who live here.
Get a coat for delivering a package, then I get some money in my pocket for delivering another package. They're going to think that's easy money. But then when they realise exactly what they're delivering, this is when it's really hard for them to get out of it.
Rebecca is a gang member they have rescued. She's too scared to be identified.
It ended with me on crack cocaine, drinking morphine out of a bottle, wanting to die. You know, it started with taking drugs for fun, and it ended up taking drugs to absolutely comatose myself. My mum was even planning my funeral in her head.
Rebecca was originally hostile to the police. Now they've got her back into education, but it's taken time. Did you think she'd ever get to where she is now, though, from when you first saw her?
Yeah, there's always a chance, and there has to be a bit of buy-in from them as well to make it happen. It's always encouraging that people can turn their life around. They're making hand signals, gesturing, almost like violent signals, you know, as if they're holding knives.
PC Bevan has spent hours studying the music created by the gangs and how they use the videos as a recruitment tool.
If these were removed, that would be a lot better. The community wouldn't have such a negative ripple effect.
And of course, Tavis himself featured in the IP3 films. PC Bevan couldn't persuade him to leave.
He said to me, "Get out of my flat," you know, and I was sort of like, I don't know really where I'll take this now. You know, I think he's almost happy where he is, you know, being part of that group. Not so much the gang, but they're his mates. You know, they all grew up together. Why do young people meet at McDonald's?
Free Wi-Fi, cheap food.
As they stand talking in the middle of town, where the recent Tavis turf war kicked off, a member of the Nino gang from Nacton walks on his own through the J Block's territory.
So for him to be in Ipswich town centre, as you're aware, that there can be conflict, and there has been conflict in the past.
It's just gone 10 o'clock. The police are chasing a 17-year-old J Block gang member. It's thought he's dealing drugs and carrying a weapon.
They may have discarded the item that we suspect they may be carrying.
You have been detained on Section 23, the misuse of drugs.
He's taken back to the police station to be searched.
First of all, looking at criminal offences, but also it's really important that we look to safeguard them as well and offer them an opportunity out of this problem.
These police constables know there are some they can help and others where there is just no hope. Debbie Tubby, BBC East, Ipswich.
Well, as you probably know, Tavis was murdered late on a summer's afternoon in broad daylight. It led to an outpouring of grief and anger in the local community. Alex Dunlop has been there many times over the past few months, and he's been back to look at how the community is coping now and how it coped back then.
The killing of Tavis Spencer-Aitkens here just outside his home stunned the local community, and that's because so many people here know each other. A couple of nights later, I watched on as hundreds of people packed into this church hall behind me, desperate to know if the teenager's death could have been avoided.
Nobody's come together until somebody's died.
In the hall that night, two young brothers watched the grief and anger unfold.
I see people that I ain't seen in years. It's sad that it took this to bring people together, but the positive is people are together.
And people are actually looking, like I said, looking to do something.
I met Byron and Jerome at the spot where Tavis was killed, and they did do something.
This one's for Tav. Tav's life, and everyone is getting an agent in these mad times.
The brothers used their talents to make this video to celebrate his life.
Gone too soon, didn't have a chance to make mistakes or choose a path for him to take.
Look how many have joined them, all local people, all wanting some good to come out of the teenager's death.
We need to focus on the younger people, but we need to focus on the next generation. That's where the change happens.
The people at school now that could
the most
be
impressionable.
Yes, the impressionable, and the people that could be influenced now. This is the time to push them on the right path.
Roxanne lives nearby and has 4 boys. So, 8 months after Tavis died, has anything changed for the better since then?
No. Straight up, quite frankly, no.
And so she started a campaign against gang violence.
Parents, the police and Parliament, she says, need to get tough.
To leave your house with a machete, you should do 5 years plus for that.
So does the issue lie with the gangs or with the lack of provision?
Both. Both. The lack of provision will allow the gangs to do what they want.
The local council says it's invested more than £100,000 in this local community centre. That's fine for those who want to go there, says Cardella, who lives just yards from where Tavis died, but
there are children out there that want to come out of the gangs, are finding it hard to even communicate, you know, simple things like this. You know,
and how can they be reached?
Well, this is down for the government to, you know, invest money, invest the time.
The murder of Tavis exposed fault lines in the local community, but it's also given it a chance to come together. People here want his death to be a stark warning, not just another statistic. Alex Dunlop, BBC Look East, Ipswich.
Well, let's speak to the Police and Crime Commissioner, Tim Passmore. A lot of criticism of the police and the way that they've handled this, and gangs.
Yes, well, Stuart, the gangs problem is a major issue facing Suffolk at the moment, and I would like to remind everybody a lot of extra resource have gone into Suffolk Constabulary in the last 2 years. Their gangs unit, I think you've just seen a clip of that, I think has done some exceptional work. There have been over 300 arrests in the last year for Class A drug possession. And people have got to remember they want more visibility, they want more police presence, and that's why over 100 officers were redeployed onto the front line last October. And all that extra money coming into the constabulary from people's council tax will be employing extra officers and extra staff.
But I was talking to somebody today and they said things are no better.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that. It does take time to deal with this. I quite understand people's concerns. And I can assure everybody, we've listened to what people have said, and that's why these extra resources are going in. And we also need to remember, dealing with this huge problem here in Suffolk is not just down to police alone. Everybody has a part to play. A multi-agency approach is the way forward, and that's what we're doing.
So, but it's community involvement, isn't it? It's
yes.
Getting into the areas where these gangs are ruling.
That's absolutely right. But we've got to do more to help our young people with opportunities.
So that's great to say, but how do you do that?
Well, I'll tell you exactly how we're doing it, because we put a lot of money in, £300,000 in the last 12 months to provide activities for young people. There's a huge variety of that, and they really are making a difference. I can take you out and show you some of them. We've got to do more, not complacent. There's a lot more to do, and we're jolly well going to do it.
You see, I was talking again to somebody today who said that they went out to watch some community involvement with local people, and while they were there, some people came up and tried to get the kids involved in drugs.
No, it's a desperate situation like this. It's shocking, completely unacceptable, and we are doing everything we possibly can. I'm meeting with the Home Office next Tuesday, and I'm going to press them to see what extra resources we can get to try and help tackle this problem. It has to be tackled, make no mistake.
Do you believe that you have the full support of the communities involved? I'm thinking of particularly the Nacton area and the Jubilee Park area.
Well, I would hope so. I've been out to meet quite a few of them. I will continue to do that. We all remember that really difficult community meeting last June. I was there and I answered the questions, and we are putting the resources and have put the resources in place. We've got to engage more with the community. That's why we've got 9 community engagement officers. New posts, part of their role is to do that work with the community. We've got new PCSOs going into schools, pupil referral units. It's a huge problem. It's very, very complicated. But by working together, that power of collaboration, we're jolly well going to make a difference.
Just very quickly, will you, if you were standing here a year today, would you tell me that things are better, or do you think that that's too soon?
I would like to do that. I'm not avoiding the question. If I was to put money on it, I'd say, yes, we are determined to make it better. And I'll do that in a year's time.
Hard.
It will be hard, it will.
Tim Passmore, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Let's get the weather now with Lucy Martin.
Hello, good evening. Some unsettled weather to come through the weekend before it looks like things will settle down through the start of next week. So this weekend we will see some very windy conditions at times. There's also some rain to come and a few blustery showers. Now the strong winds and rain are courtesy of this next area of low pressure moving in off the Atlantic as we go through tonight. And tomorrow you can see the white lines, the isobars squeezing closer together. So some windy conditions to come. So we go through tonight, then the cloud will increase with outbreaks of rain spreading in from the south and west. The rain heavy and persistent for a time. Temperatures not falling too far though. Overnight lows around 7-8 degrees Celsius. As we move into the early hours, the Met Office has issued a yellow weather warning for wind. It's valid from 4 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the evening on Saturday. Gusts around 45 to 55 miles per hour. It covers southeastern parts of the patch, but it looks like it will be a widely windy day for all. So first thing, we'll see some rain clearing towards the south and east. Looks like it will be a largely cloudy day. The cloud could be thick enough for the odd patchy outbreak of rain. The odd brighter spell here and there, but I think they'll be in very limited supply. Temperatures at a maximum of around 13 degrees Celsius, but add in that very strong wind and it won't be feeling too pleasant. As we move through Saturday night, we'll see outbreaks of rain working their way southeast as this cold front gradually clears. So there'll be a spell of wet weather for a time. Behind it, though, some clear spells. So as we start the day on Sunday, it'll be a chilly and bright start. We'll see sunny spells, but also some showers through the day. And those showers do have the potential to be quite heavy with some hail and thunder. Looks like it will be a windy day again, just less windy than Saturday. The temperature's cooler, though. A maximum of around 9-10 degrees Celsius. And then as we move into the start of the week, we start to see this area of high pressure spreading in. So we will see the winds becoming increasingly light with more in the way of dry weather. Here's how it's looking on Monday. A chilly start to the day, but a bright one. There will be plenty of sunny spells. A bit more cloud, I think, the further west you are. Temperatures at a maximum of around 11 degrees Celsius. The wind's starting to drop out a bit. And then as we move into the rest of next week, we're going to see the temperatures creeping up. There will be a good deal of dry weather to come with that as well, but fairly unsettled through the weekend.
Do you know, a couple of months ago I came here to see the aunt of Tavis Spencer-Aitkens, and she told me that young men didn't choose to join gangs. The gangs chose them. Well, twice tonight we've heard in the course of this programme that Tavis was warned about the life that he was leading and the dangers therein, and he chose to stay with the life that he was living. And we've seen those music videos this evening, some of them viewed more than 100,000 times, and we've seen those self-confident young men with their message of violence and drugs. Tonight, some of those self-confident young men are behind bars, and they're likely to stay behind bars for a very long time. And of course, this is a problem which is widespread across the country. It's not just here in Ipswich. And if you thought it was just the big cities in America, then think again. This is Ipswich. And there are no winners in this, just broken lives and wounds that never heal. From all of us, good night.
As well as